Hello and welcome to Wilson's World Afcon Daily, episode 16, coming to you on a day on which Algeria and Ivory Coast both booked their places in the quarterfinals. I'm in Marrakesh, made the long journey down from Fez, 7 hours by train, coming through Rabat and Casablanca. Very attractive journey south of Casablanca, much more barren landscape, not quite desert, but certainly a lot bleaker than suddenly a town would emerge from nowhere. So you're closer to Marrakesh. You can see the Atlas Mountains capped by snow. It was a very chilly night. Temperatures dropping to around about 4 degrees. But the bigger game, to be honest, the better game, was probably the Algeria DRC game in Rabat early in the day. It always looked like it was going to be close, and so it proved. It was settled in the end in the 118th minute, deep into extra time, by a goal from Diallo, Algeria winning 1-0. DRC, you suspect, will wonder what might have been if Johan Wissa had recovered in time from his knee injury to come here. He remained in Newcastle, and without him, DRC just a little bit short of cutting edge. Played pretty well through midfield, but just nothing to turn that possession into real threat. Algeria, I think, have arguably been the most balanced side so far. They're coached by Vladimir Pekovic. You may remember him as the quite distinguished-looking white-haired coach of Switzerland. He's a Bosnian. So they scored 8 goals in their 4 games. They conceded 1. I think they have got that balance right, which maybe is an issue with Nigeria, that they are a bit over-attacking. They meet each other in the quarterfinals, so we'll see that there, whether Nigeria have got the defensive resolve. That, of course, is a repeat of the 1980 final, which was won by Nigeria, and the 1990 final, which was won by Algeria. The later game I was at, Ivory Coast were very comfortable winners, 3-0 against Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, they weren't quite as limp as Mozambique had been against Nigeria the previous night, but it was a similar vibe of game. 20th minute, Ivory Coast took the lead, just as Nigeria taking the lead in the 20th minute. Diallo got the opener, really good little finish. The ball sort of broke him in the box, sort of bundled through, but showed great balance, showed great technical control, and they managed to get it up and over the keeper as the keeper charged out at him. That was 1-0. 12 minutes later, they got a second. Diallo squaring the ball to Yann Diamond, who finished well. And as Nigeria 2-0 up, Nigeria's 25th minute, wasn't it? It's 32nd minute, and of that the game was over. Maybe a little bit of complacency from Ivory Coast in the second half. Burkina Faso came back into it. A lot of changes made fairly early by them, but in the end, a late third for Ivory Coast to settle it. I think there's been a sense that it's been an odd tournament in the sense that there haven't been any shocks yet, no surprises. You could argue that Mali beating Tunisia was a bit of a surprise, but Tunisia going out, Tunisia self-destructing, you can't be that surprised by that. And we've ended up with probably the highest powered last 8 the Cup of Nations ever seen. 7 of these 8 teams have won the tournament before, only Mali haven't, and they've been in a final in 1972. And I think there's 22 Cups of Nations in total between the 8 sides in the quarterfinals. Now, I think that's maybe coincidence. It's maybe to do with we've seen a process whereby the pyramid of African football has sort of been getting broader but not necessarily higher in recent years. Maybe those top teams are just starting to stretch themselves. The years when we'd see Angola performing very well, Equatorial Guinea performing very well. Maybe those familiar giants, the likes of Ivory Coast, the likes of Algeria, that they are starting to advance. And it's a big claim to make on the back of one ton, but maybe Morocco getting to the semi-final of the World Cup, the first African side ever to do so, maybe that is indicative of that movement. I think it's also an issue of the format. When you have 4 best third place teams to go through, so you've got 6 groups of 4, 24 teams, and you play 36 group games to reduce that to 16. And we've had a last 16 with 2 good games, a lot of pretty straightforward matches. Egypt did struggle against Benin, to be fair, but these last 2 games I've been to, certainly very simple victories for Nigeria and Ivory Coast. Maybe that is a bit of a problem, but that is the way of modern football. There's a lot of games to get not very far. Now, the tournament can get away with that if we now do have a classic quarterfinal, semi-final, final. Now the big teams are here, the big players are here. Really the only side who are missing are Ghana, who didn't qualify. But apart from that, everybody has got who you'd want at this stage has got through. Even Mali, you'd say, yeah, you probably do need a plucky outside. You do need a stubborn side, and Thompson Fleet's team is certainly that. They've drawn all 4 games so far. So hopefully we get the payoff to come. Hopefully the build-up has been worth it. So Friday will be the first quarterfinals, but we'll look ahead to them nearer the time. We'll see you then. Thanks for listening.